Shut the window. Welcome to the Day of the Dead, or whatever. I don't know. What's today, the 19th of March? Daily vlog video episode 3691. Here we are. We have just been recovering, in a sense, with the whole Forgotten Series video. And yesterday I did a lot of research. You know, I go through all my work and I kind of gather everything I possibly can about said topic. And I was beginning to formulate the next episode, so episode 7 of the Forgotten Series. So I'm in the works of that right now. We have a plan. It might be about 3 weeks till I actually start writing it. What I will generally do is go through all my notes and just kind of look back at the past. Since I've been at this for 12 years, I'm just going to kind of look at everything and just see if everything's right where it should be. If the story is playing out the way I've been planning it this entire time. So that's kind of where we began yesterday, and I'll pick that up once again at work on my breaks and lunch. But I gotta remember to give myself a little bit of rest, which I never really do. I've always been kind of hard at work with all this stuff, and I never ever allow myself to just relax. It's always one thing after the next, you know? I'll work my ass off at work, and then on my breaks at work, I'll work my ass off on coming up with the story. And then on my days off, I bust my ass trying to write this stuff, and I don't really get a whole lot of relaxation. So it's just something I gotta work on. It's one of those things that I'm bad with, is relaxing. Though I've been wanting to get into some Arthurian legends and romances and all that stuff. And as you know, in the past, I talked about reading the story of Tristan. Man, that feels good. Written by Gottfried von Strasberg. And since we finished that, I got a few Arthurian chronicles I can go through. I got the Wace and Layamond chronicles. I got the one from the... Was it... I forgot her name. Marie de France. Was that it? I can't say French names, but I'm going to try. Chrétien de Troyes. I don't know. It's a French name. And it's Arthurian romances. I got those to get into, but right now I've been diving into Parsifal. About 100 pages in, just a few days of reading. And it's cool. I never knew a lot about any of this. Like, I've heard of Arthurian romances, and I've heard of Arthurian legends, and the Death of Arthur by that Thomas Malory. I didn't really know how much of a, let's just say, universe it was, you know? Like, our modern sense, we think of like Marvel and DC. I'm seeing it with my modern perspective as such, where Arthurian stories are just like this universe that everyone keeps adding to, and it creates this thought form of being, right? It's really built around, seemingly so far, chivalry and knights. So I ended up getting myself an encyclopedia too for the questions that I have. But like I said, we're about 100 pages in, a little over 100 pages actually. And it's kind of tough for me, just because there is so much I don't know. Like when it starts throwing names around, and it's throwing around like names of castles and cities and realms and shit, it just loses me a bit because I have zero context to this stuff. Like, I don't know. You know, he talks about Moorish kingdoms in Parsifal when his father goes down there, and there's all these crazy names, and then Wales shit, I don't know, near Spain possibly. I'm not really knowing of the history of it, so that's what kind of throws me out. And there's so many things that I find hard to understand too when it starts getting into the apparel of the knights, or when it starts talking about what the horse is wearing, you know, and it's these terminology things that make it really hard to get into. So I'm trying to figure out how to best go about this, because the story's good in there. As I'm getting into it, his father had passed away already. Now we're in the story of, I almost called Tristan. we're in the story of Percival, and he's truly becoming a knight. You know what I'm saying? He's finally figuring it out. You know, his mother tried to hide him away from this life because she was afraid he was going to turn to his father. But he's trying to figure that out for himself, and he's so arrogant and foolish about it. And it's very clever how it's been written in that Germanic way. And thus far, I don't know what goes on next, but we'll get into it. So that's kind of what I've been doing with my downtime, is figuring out Arthurian romances and stuff. There's so much about it, man. So this is just like a Penguin classic. It's not the true poetry of it. Same with my story of Tristan. They kind of changed it to a different format, I think, and it makes it easier to read, because I struggle with poetry. I find it very off-putting because I'm so unknown with it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me how to go about it. And I just want a good story, and the poetry part, the rhyming, I guess throws me. Like I was trying to read Canterbury Tales, and I just found it so difficult because of the rhyming, because it's poetry. And I know that's a me problem. I know that's something I just got to figure out. I'm a very precise and particular person. I have to know just about everything before I truly begin to understand it. And so for me, poetry is too far open to sit and just take it at face value. I like to make sure I do my due diligence. I like to make sure that I'm very respectful to the form. So I have to know everything about it before I have some fucking opinion. Thus far, it's just difficult for me. So I do like the Penguin Classic versions of it. It just helps me get into the story a bit more, as opposed to its, poetic version of it. Like when I read the Odyssey, I read the Penguin Classic version. I have a copy by something Fitzgerald, and it's kind of more akin to how it's poetically read. And I'm going to get into that eventually. I just want to get the story first and immerse myself into the whole, idea of it all. But seemingly we have a couple things that we're really enjoying, and that is Greek myth and Arthurian legends and myths and romances of the Middle Ages, So I'm not necessarily sure what it is. It's probably mostly because that's the biggest form of art during the time, literature, as it were. But one of these days we'll get into the Icelandic stuff, the Edda, and what is that one called? It's the Laxdæla saga, and there's a couple other ones. There's a Germanic one that I found, some poetry around that time. So we'll definitely dive into all this stuff, but the general idea is to immerse ourselves in literature from a bygone era, just to kind of get a sense of where we came from and how I can use that tool to open up what I'm trying to do with my mythology. So we'll kind of jump out of Arthurian stuff. We'll jump into the mythology. Depending on who you are, unless you're not, a person that knows what's going on here. We've been hard at work with our own personal mythology for the past, 12 to 13 years, And in some sense, as a template, we're using the Bible. We're using Arthurian stories, Greek, Celtic, all forms of mythology we're using as a template. Because we believe that there is somehow a mindset created inside of it. Like all these mythologies that circle around a concept, let's just use Arthurian for this conversation. That creates a specific man. That creates a specific thought form. That creates a specific God that sees over these ideals that are inside this, right? This would be the Christian God in this sense. We're trying to unravel how that works, because that does create a certain type of mindset that you can use as, we could say, like a software to your being, right? Knightly courtship and chivalry and godliness and being kind to women goes as your software to being the man that you see is for the society. much like the Greek stuff in the past, that they have their own ways of seeing what a man should be to be the man of that kind of time. So I'm taking it upon myself to, not for other people, but look through all the legends and the stories and the mythologies of the past, use them as a template alongside with my own personal being, which would be who I am as a person when I've been studying, know thyself, right? Every single day I work on who am I, what am I doing, what's my purpose. I just take those two things and create my own version of here's what a man should be based on my life. And it's just me as a man. I'm not like doing this for other people necessarily. Like, it's not my outright goal, but it could be if it turns into that. But that's in a sense all we're trying to do here, is trying to create our own mythology and understand how we got here as a civilization, how we got here as a people, what formed the basis of our humanity, and how civilization kind of caused us to be who we are. And through mythology we can truly explore that, because inside of it, as you obviously know, there's hidden truths, you could say. Reading the Bible as a mythology, not as this 100% fact, you get something totally different out of it, right? And that's with anything. If I'm reading this Parsifal, like, just factually, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand this, and this doesn't, it ruins it. But if you look at it with a mythological lens, it actually opens up to the depths of the past. It's kind of how you can explore time. In some sense, it's the only way you really can that I know of, and that's just looking at mythology, so you can grow to understand the people then and where you came from. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to unravel with that, but also with philosophy, just exactly what everything is and how it's changed in time, how the idea of God changed, how the idea of the world changed, and man's place in it. And one thing that's very fascinating is, I think it's called the sunk cost fallacy. And it's the idea that I've been really curious about, is like, sometimes you might go down the road so far and it's actually a big mistake, but you've sunk so much into it, you got to continue. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I wonder if our civilization has got that problem. We've gone so far, and this began after the Roman era. We've done so many horrible things, and we've done so many stupid things. We've got to this point in history, and maybe it's a big mistake. But we're continuing to do it anyway, because what else are we going to do? We can't go back. You can't change it. That's one of the interesting things that I've been kind of keeping myself aware of, and it really points itself out when I think of after, like, I know it's been going on before that, but I haven't gone that far. But from when the Romans fell and the barbarians kind of took over, right, the Germanic peoples, and when Britain was left to its own devices and all this shit, and the Vikings eventually, how all of that was because of what Rome did. They made this big threat. And then when the second wave was the church, and they made another threat, like the things that they did with good intention kind of caused a lot of bad things to happen. And the idea is, what happens if that never came to be? This is another thing that I try to explore the mythology as much as one can. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm going to have any fucking answers to it. I'm just, I'm not approaching it logically, I guess is how I could say it. Like, I'm approaching it artistically. Just keep that in mind, it's not, a lot of times it's hard to talk to people that are very logical based, because they just can't see the reality. They can only see this rigid thing, like constructs. That's all they can understand. So it's hard to kind of frame it to people like that, and that's not what my mythology is for. I mean, those are the kind of people that don't even understand mythology and its purpose. So it's hard to really explain to someone that's logical based the reality of the situation. You know what I'm saying? Now, other than that, that's kind of all we've been really doing between episodes. It's just so much to really expand ourselves and to to open up to all this new stuff that it's out in the world, but I've never really known about it. You know, they force feed you so much shit in America with what you're supposed to know and feel and think and how you're supposed to, what kind of person you're supposed to be. And it really starts in school and stuff. And people get fixated on the wrong stuff, right? And it's just all this, you know, things that I'm finding interesting just left the wayside because political agendas and racial agendas and all that junk going on now. They want you to be more caring about stupid fucking political things than reality, you know? And so for me, it's been very interesting diving into all this, getting into these legends and these myths and the basis of humanity in Western society. You know, like, I never really got a whole lot of exposure to like this Western mythologies and Western philosophies and all that stuff because it was always suppressed. Just kind of where I was at, and not even necessarily suppressed, but just not talked about. Oh, you guys are just stupid fucking country people going to some shitty little school that no one's ever heard of. We're not going to sit here and teach you about philosophy. You know what I'm saying? You need to learn Spanish, right? Like it was very. I had a very different kind of upbringing, and I just found it to be strange that what life can become if you let it. You know, you're at the whim of life as a child, right? Because you really don't have a whole lot to say, and no one will fucking listen to you because you're a kid, right? But once you start getting older, you're allowed to choose the life you want around you and the things you know and the things that you do and whatever happens to be, you can choose that. And I'm finally choosing it for myself, and it's been very difficult, you know? 1 minute we're trying to read, like I said, Parsifal, Arthurian legends. And then the next I'm trying to understand more deeply esoteric things and what the purpose is behind it. And what is the reasoning of the creation of esotericism and what is it purposes it serve in society? Because I've always been led to believe this is evil, right? In a passive way. I did not go to church growing up, but like small town mentality, like it's evil, you know, there's only God and Jesus and this is all, you know, demonic shit. And that's all I was taught. So it kind of, I have this small town mentality. I'm scared of the word esoteric, you know, which I don't really like that word. I feel like that implies something totally different than what I'm doing, you know. I'm not looking to fucking draw pentagrams on the fucking ground and learn how to summon demons. I'm just trying to understand the inner depths of what the role is that I'm supposed to play. And it happens to coincide a lot with esotericism. But that's that small town mentality that I'm just trying to get out of. You know what I mean? The only negative side is that I feel like I'm in a sea of peasants. I can't talk about any of this stuff with anybody around me because it's just a bunch of fucking peasants. They're just that lower class of people that need to be told what to do, think, and feel. And it's hard to be surrounded by that. Because anytime I try to challenge people, even the ones that think they're smart, they just end up repeating the same fucking thing that they were told. And I'm like, damn, this is hard to find someone who understands this. Or someone who's seeking to come about their own way of living and see the world in their own way. It's hard to find that. It really is. There's just a lot of doing what you're told going on. And it's just kind of, I don't know. In my certain case, that's what I'm finding. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up in a big city. I'm growing up in a little rural fucking village in the middle of the Midwest. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it is. You're not going to find a whole lot of learned people out in this part of the country that I live in, at least. That's just how it always has been, you know. It's just, there's classes of people, and there should be, because that's kind of what it is. Quality is an idea, but doesn't make it a good one. So yeah, you can see why the Greeks didn't like democracy. Sometimes when you're amongst the rabble, I guess you could say. At any rate, we've just been, man, it's just been a hell of a lot going on here. You know what I mean? Just trying to just figure all this shit out. Figure it all out. It's not been an easy road, I've been noticing for myself, and getting out of certain mindsets, like reading sometimes can be difficult for me. Just focusing on the words. Sometimes my mind's like, I want to be told what to, So it's hard to get out of this mindset, And I feel like I've been kind of fighting who I am for a long time, and there's days I just want to give up and be like some other person and only watch sports and care about my fucking job and try to advance and, do all this shit for monetary gain and start coveting items a lot more and things like I sometimes wonder if I should just do that. Stop fighting. But there's this urge inside of me to want to break free of the bonds that I feel like are all around in this materialistic world that we're in, the 21st century. That's just kind of what it's felt like so far. I'm sitting here chasing knowledge when in reality it may not even exist, seemingly. I'm not saying that's 100% truth, but sometimes it seems like it doesn't. Like it all leads to I don't knows. It all leads to like theories and ideas and conclusions of thought based upon groups of people's belief systems. Like it all seems to just go back to just bullshit, from celebrating holidays and what they really mean, what does a holiday really mean, all the way to like what is materialism and what is truth, what is knowledge, what is wisdom, all this stuff. It ends up just being people's fucking opinions. And the more I'm listening to other people's opinions, the more I'm not satisfied with life. From what you should think about God and what religion you should fall into, all the way to what is good and what is evil. It's just a bunch of fucking people's opinions. And I find that to be so lackluster. So just annoying to just come to these same fucking conclusions. I always feel like I go down a road and I'm so ecstatic to finally find some truth. And then to finally be met with it, I'm always just let down. You know what I mean? Kind of like I told you about when I was trying to go to church. I just got let down. I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought it could be. I was hoping for true enlightenment, but this is just another road to get lost on. So that's been my biggest thing in life, and that's what really has led to the search. Why we're doing this, why we're looking into these things, and what did people get out of Arthurian romances? Truly. Because the stereotype is like, yeah, just courtly love, chivalry, knightlyhood, and all that. That's it. But like, what does that fucking mean? What does that truly fucking mean? And exactly why? What is the exact purpose to be this way? Just tell me. The more I get into it, the more I realize from their perspective, and it allows me to figure out my belief system around it. You know what I'm saying? Like one of these days when I get around to it and I start really diving into religion again, I can ask Muslims, like, what exactly are you getting out of this? What exactly is this? From your words, not me reading fucking books about what it is to be Muslim. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm at. Like, I'm just getting to the point where I want to know what this is. And I'd love to hear what you think it is. Not so I can judge you, but so I can understand, That's all I've been really doing, and simultaneously kind of working on myself through my own mythology and trying to discover what are the archetypes that I exist with. What are the things that I see in life? What's the merit to this life? And what is the negative aspect that I deal with on my level? And how can I convey that in mythology? How can I convey that with human archetypes, archetypal thoughts? emotions. What does that truly mean, an emotion? You know what I'm saying? Like, just a whole lot of bunch of things, honestly. It's been very enlightening, it really has, and in some sense it's grown my nihilism, if you want to use that word. I'm not a huge fan of it because I don't truly believe I'm a nihilist, but I could understand if someone thought that. It's grown that idea in me, but it's also really grown my, I don't want to say theism, but my belief in something greater, a creator. It's grown all of that. It's made me look at man and want to separate myself from it so I can just obtain, I don't want to say gnosis or enlightenment, but just follow the path of God. That's really it. In the way that I feel to me, like how it's coming to me. Not what a bunch of fucking dudes are telling me to do. And in some sense, it's pushing me away from mankind and all the constructs, and I'm becoming, on their end, a nihilist. Like, this is why I'm saying I don't like being termed that, but someone might consider me nihilistic, not believing in any sort of religion, and not trusting in mankind, and seeing the folly of man and how it's pointless. And I've been perceived in that way, but in my mind it's just like I'm just pulling myself off of this fucking thing and just trying to be myself, not a bunch of fucking other people. But in doing that, as I noticed a couple days ago, actually I noticed this yesterday, I feel like I'm between realms. Like I'm having a really hard time comprehending this world we're in, and the point of it, and belief systems, rituals, and religions, and holidays, and, you know, greed, paying taxes, politics, all this man-made shit. I'm having such a hard time understanding all that. But I'm also between another world, which is like, but I'm not truly understanding what's after. So I feel like I'm floating in this kind of crossroads. Do I go back to being just some fucking guy playing the game, being a part of it, you know, paying my mortgage off and fucking going to work every day so I can buy fucking shit that Amazon says you need to get, and I don't know, getting another car, just normal fucking things that people do? Should I just go to that and care about who I vote for and what my country means and do all that stuff? Or should I keep going down this road of enlightenment and following the will that I believe is the creator? Should I just keep doing that, even though it's pulling me farther and farther and farther away? It's tough. It's really tough because, kind of like in the series with Dove, I could follow the road that's been trod before many times, though it's someone else's road, but it's safe, it's okay, it's knowable, it's part of the game, you know, the simulation as they call it. Or do I go my own road, which is completely unknown and could lead me to ruin, at least on a materialistic viewpoint, and possibly even spiritually? Should I go down that road? I'm just choosing to go down the road that I don't know. And it's difficult because it doesn't, seemingly, I don't have a lot of answers. I can see how I come across. I just come across as a bumbling idiot. So I just, you know, it's just a sense of being stuck between a rock and a hard place. But as I've said a few times, the road is ever long. It's just, we're going from one place to another. And I'm really going it alone. And that's the only way to go about it. It's for me. It isn't for the faint of heart. Because, man, when you're kind of pulling yourself away from thought forms and belief systems and comfort things and whatever we do to tell ourselves that civilization, the way it is as such, is positive, or it's the right thing. When you pull away from that, man, it's like you truly feel like you're floating in a sea of doubt. or you feel like you are. This is what I'm talking about, looking at the Bible more mythology-wise than literal. It truly feels like being Moses lost in the fucking desert. You're just wandering aimlessly for however many years. Was it 30 years or some shit? That's what it feels like. To break off from fucking society and to just, not like in a sense of, roughing it out in the woods and shit and being a hermit, living in a cave, or goddamn going off the grid. I'm talking like mental, like breaking from society mentally. Allowing your body to be this part of this game, but taking your spiritual self and breaking it from all that bullshit. It does feel like you're just wandering alone in the fucking desert. And all the people following you, the tribes and shit, that's just archetypes of your mind, dude. That's just aspects of yourself, all the emotions that you bring with you, all of the baggage, all of the, what would you say? Like, I just call them archetypes, but modes of being. And that's why it all has to die off, right? That generation has to die away. So you can rebirth all aspects of yourself. From your fear to your love to your fucking sorrow, like all the emotions you carry, all the different personalities that are inside of you. Like, you have to let it all die away in the desert so we can be reborn. That's what that's meaning when they talk about Moses in the desert. And then eventually you come to this point where you can speak to God when you've done it right. And you can really fucking fail too, by the way. You can wander in the desert and fail and die. Or just go back to civilization. Like, oh, I tried, it was hard. This I found peace in. Like, you can do that. It's the easiest way to go about it. That's what I feel like is happening with me. I'm just wandering. And it's disheartening. And there's nobody or no thing in this world that will make you feel better about that. Nothing. Someone will hand you the Bible. Or they'll hand you, I don't know, to join the military. Or to be a fucking EMT or some shit. Like, be a part of society is my point. Like, they hand you something to be a part of it. Get a better job. They hand you opportunity to rise up in your company. Or they hand you some material fucking thing. Money. Or the opportunity to buy your own home. And it's so easy to take that temptation. It's so easy to be promised a kingdom, right? Because that's all it is. They're promising you a fucking personal kingdom. You can buy all these things. This could be all yours. So says I. And that's a temptation. And you have to just keep fucking trying to negate it, but you will fall. You will falter. That's okay. As long as you keep trying to get back out of it. But there's nothing that's going to make you feel better about this whole journey. Seemingly, of course. I might just be going about it really wrong. That's why I feel this way. So don't take what I'm saying as this is it, man. This is the only fucking road that I've walked on, and you too. That's not how that works. But I've just found that where I'm going, there's nothing to be sure about. There's no sort of, there's nothing to be, to think of it will be an eventual reprieve. Or be something to find solace in. It's just seemingly more fucking trials ahead. Now, it's my goal as this is happening with the mythology to take down the journey and tell you it like it's Dove. But it's fucking me. Clearly. You know what I mean? Aruin and Dove and Theis and all the keeper shit. That's all me. That's it. The keepers are the holders of my memories. They're the ones that safeguard the past. Aruin is the whisper. The whisper is just the being that is like fear. A rogue fear kind of being. Dove is one aspect of me. Theis is another. Bahavan's another aspect of me. It's just the feeling of in my brain at that moment in time. Before the Great Divide. Here's the thing about it, is it was prophetically created a long time ago by me and a few other people. And I'm living out this fucking premonition. It's just weird like that. This is what I'm trying to say. It's fucking strange. But there's a lot to be gained from doing this, and if people have faith in you, they will follow you. If they don't have faith in you, well, then they won't. And that's whatever, that's fine. You don't need that in your life anyway. You gotta do what you know is right for the best outcome that's bigger than this little fucking world. It's bigger than ideas of fucking what man says. Here's a country. These are doctrines of the country. This is the Magna Carta. This is the Declaration of Independence. Like that kind of shit. Like you gotta get past that. It doesn't. I know it seems difficult because that seems the highest of the high, but that's just man. That's just fucking dudes determining shit for people like them, not like you. They don't give a fuck about you. No one's sitting around, you know, like creating declarations of war or peace or an idea of a country and going, what about like the regular guy? They don't fucking care. They pretend they do, and they think they might, but they don't. That's okay, because why would they? I don't give a fuck about some poor guy in the street. Why would they? You know? They understand what society is, and they know there are certain people that have to be like on that level, and there's some people that can't be. They know this. So, at any rate, that's kind of where we're at now. How do I feel? I actually feel really good. I feel very positive about the coming times, the coming days, whatever. My life. I feel really good about it now. I feel great that the road is just as complex as it can be, because it's so takes you, catches you off guard, they'd say. It really opens up avenues of life, and ones you never thought were possible for you, ones you never thought were possible. Yet here you are, right now, right here, about to make a decision that could affect the rest of your life. So you just got to figure out what you're going to do with that. And when you do, you're off. Anyway, we're going to go. We got to send this video and get back to reading, because it's getting very interesting. So I'll see you next time.